This piece of history is proudly supported by the Museum of Vancouver. Vancouver's story begins here. We're in my favorite place in Vancouver, the semi-dark basement of the Museum of Vancouver, also known as Collections Storage. And it is lit by electricity, which is magic.
Our topic of today.
Yes.
It's what? We're going to talk about something that BC Electric called a modern box of magic, the electric refrigerator. Something that's interesting about electric refrigerators, they're so ubiquitous in our day-to-day life that there's actually a fair amount of selling on the idea that people had to go through in the 20s and 30s in BC. And these BC Electric pamphlets really try to sell people on the idea of having an electric refrigerator, or as it calls it, a refrigi.
Refrigi.
In their home. Because before this, people often had an ice box. So they'd get a large block of ice delivered that they'd put into a cabinet, and that would be their refrigeration tool in
Just
their
a big
home.
block of ice, and you would buy that.
Big block of ice sitting in a cabinet. You'd keep your perishables, your milks, your meats in there, but it wouldn't be nearly as consistent in keeping things cold as a refrigerator.
And so we were selling people on, the electric company was selling people on the idea of you should have electricity.
Because it was not an insignificant investment. So here is a pamphlet from 1940. It has a Gibson refrigerator for sale for $159.
That seems like a good deal.
Converted with inflation, that's around $3,500 in 2026.
Wow.
So it's like modest used car territory for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And behind me, while not quite as old as 1940, is the oldest electric refrigerator in our collection. So this refrigerator was purchased in 1958 by the Siegler family. And it was such a big event in their household that they had a family photo taken with it the day they brought it in.
Cool.
And the interesting thing about this refrigerator, it was in operation for 40 years. It was purchased in 1958 and donated to MOV in 1998 and was in use the entire time and was donated to us in working condition.
So it still works. We could plug the sucker in.
It would still work. It's when the people say they don't build them like they used to, this refrigerator is an example of that.
Well, can I climb in and
let's
see
have a
if
look.
I'll survive a nuclear blast? Wow, cool.
As you can see, the door is extremely sturdy. The whole unit is a pretty heavy-duty piece of metal.
That's wild. So for $3,600, you could also own this magical investment in your family's future. There's all kinds of interesting stuff like this at the Museum of Vancouver. Vancouver's story begins here. That's the show for this week. Big thanks to Jacqueline and Dave and everybody at BC Hydro, show director Derek Wong, roving reporter Nina Savage, editor Arv, and everybody at employee-owned CHEK Media. Follow me on social media for more stories and check out my quarterly digest, the Now You Know BC Almanac at bcbob.ca. You can buy copies there for $25 and subscribe to my newsletter where I do regular giveaways and other stuff. And of course, I'll see you here on CHEK next week when I'll tell you more stories about this great province of ours. And now you know BC.